Shawn Colvin, Carlene Carter, and Maria Muldaur.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming today.
You're not on.
Trying to find some tunes that would be suitable for my young voice because I didn't have the throaty, deep voice I longed to have. I wanted to sound like Bessie Smith, but I was many decades away from that. So, and she was the first person to turn me on to Memphis Minnie, who turned out to be my all-time musical hero of all time. But anyway, and she played me a lot of her stuff, but she would take me, give me pointers and say, now honey, when you get up there, it ain't enough to sound good. You got to look good too. You got to get up there and strut your stuff and make all eyes be on you. And then she paused dramatically and looked me right in the eye and said, that's what they call stage presence. So I took notes, you know, and now when I think about it, what a blessing it was to get to know somebody like that who saw something in me and wanted to encourage me to carry on. And so I sometimes get verklempt thinking about it. But she was just wonderful and a big influence on me, and I'm very blessed to have known her.
How did you work to develop
Like you said, it's a way of expressing their sexuality that was not as in-your-face explicit as a lot of today's song lyrics, which are even make me blush. But more, they did it in a very playful way and a very poetic way, and just used metaphor and left a lot to the imagination. And to me, that's sexier, actually. So they're fun songs, and they're kind of entertaining, and that's why I enjoy singing them. People, you know, you can do all the sensitive songs in the world, but people, because I've had songs like this in my repertoire, they always light up when I get to that part of the show.
Let's hear Maria Muldaur performing Handyman.
Said a good man's hard to find. Perhaps a goodly positively shows blind. I found the best that ever was. Here's some of the things he does. He shakes my ashes, greases my griddle, churns my butter, stores my hair. If you believe or not, he's good to have around. When my furnace gets too hot, he turns my damper down. But everything he's got a scheme. I love the way he whips my cream. My man is such a handy man. Oh yeah. He flaps my flapjacks, cleans off my table, feeds the horses in my stable. My man is such a handy man. Oh, tell about my handy man now. busy working all night long. My man is such a handy man. Oh, yeah. My eyes just seems to melt away. I get a fresh piece every day. My man is such a handy man. Oh yeah.
But yeah, I love this harp in particular because the thing about it is that really sustained and still sustains through the Carter family, from my grandmother and my Aunt Sarah and my Uncle AP, all the way down to my grandkids, is that we carry a bit of Appalachia with us everywhere we go. And in this harp right here, there's a little piece of wood that's from a tree. No, this is from the cabin that my grandfather Ezra and my great uncle AP were born in. And so everywhere I go, I carry a little bit of War Valley, Macy Springs, Virginia with me, and it reminds me of who I am and who I need to be, and to always respect my legacy and carry it on the best that I can. So now I'm like working on my granddaughters, and the cool thing that I can tell y'all about now, and I've been kind of keeping it under wraps, is we have a new Carter family album coming out, which I know, it's pretty exciting. It's called Across Generations, and my brother John Carter Cash produced it, and he and I got together and we rallied all of our cousins, and believe you me, there's a bunch of them. There's about 30 of us, and we're all singing Circle Be Unbroken on this record. And so it goes all the way down. There's 5 generations that we managed to appear on here, including my grandmother found a lost tape of her with her first electric auto harp making up a song. It is called Maybelle's New Tune. Well, when I first started recording, I was in England and I didn't know what to do, so of course I picked the Carter family song that I knew that was up tempo, and this was it. And it was also like one of those ones that I always got to sing because it had a growl part in it that Mom liked that I did. And it's also, I love playing it on the auto harp because it is balls to the walls, y'all.
Here's Carlene Carter.
I hope it's okay to say that on NPR, is it?
We're editing this, so say whatever you want. Right? Here's Carlene Carter.
Hold on, y'all.
And my mother loved musicals, Sound of Music, and the Fantastics, and Porgy and Bess, and so did my dad. And I love those artists. And Judy Collins, I adore Judy Collins. And I went to church camp. My parents sent me to, why, I do not know what they were trying to get across to me, but I went. And a 15-year-old girl, much older and wiser than me, said, have you heard Joni Mitchell? And I said, no. She was like, you need to listen to Joni Mitchell. So I went home and I got, she had 2 records out by then, and Clouds was her second record, and I went and got that. And I dropped the needle on the vinyl, and I like to describe it, you know, as like the first time when my friend Dave gave me a ride in his Tesla, and I got in, and he put it in insane mode, and floored it, and I was pinned back. It wasn't like a plane taking off, some of you know, I suppose, and it was like a rocket. And I was pinned back in my seat and thunderstruck and breathless, and that's how I feel about the first time I heard Joni Mitchell. I mean, I can't even pick out a favorite. I do love the album Hajira. I almost played Amelia, but it's too hard to play. I got the tuning and I couldn't ace it. I love that song too, but I don't know, they're all good. And yeah, this is it. Subject-wise, I don't know any of hers that are passe, but this really holds up for me.
Let's hear Shawn.
Huh?
Wait, I'm sorry, interrupt?
No, I was just gonna say I'm scared to death.
Oh. Let's hear Shawn Colvin play For the Roses.
The hammer
boards me. I heard it in the wind last night. It sounded like a voice. Chilly now, end of summer, no more shiny hot nights. It's just the arbutus rustling and the bumping of the logs, and the moon shone down like water, like an empty spotlight.
So this particular song from Precious Bryant, it's actually, because my idea was to do this song and then play the one that I'd written that was inspired by it. So this song is actually it's very short. It's actually, and it's, to me, it's one of her more just like straight ahead lyrically, the song, and it's, I'm broke and ain't got a dime. I mean, and I'm broke and ain't got a dime. Everybody gets in hard luck sometimes. And that's the song, and I loved the simplicity of that, and I've always thought that was a beautiful song, just in its simplicity, and all the other amazing things, other definitely a lot more intricate songs that she'd done, but that was one that I just always, I don't know, it always hit me, because it was just like, sometimes that's all you need to say, you know, so I'll play that for you.
Amethyst, broken ain't got a dime.
As I am right now in my life, I might not want to do another divorce song. So I've changed my mind again. I took this to Ann ever since I got here. I mean, I've loved this. I've loved this thing. This has been awesome because I love that we have the same idea about genres, and one of the things that I'm so grateful for was that my biggest influences were in my household mostly, because you just get it by osmosis. There was never any, this is country music, this is bluegrass music, this is rock music. There was not that. It was all, there was Carter family music, Johnny Cash music, Elton John music, Mozart music, you know. And so I had the most wonderful upbringing of my mom coming home with Bob Dylan album when I was like 6 or 7 years old and saying, now honey, you need to sit down and listen to this, because this young man is going to change music forever. And I remember sitting there and thinking, I got to listen to this whole thing. And I remember thinking, well, this is different, you know, because I was used to listening to Elvis Presley and dancing all over the living room. But so, I mean, I I've always like believed in that, and it's probably been why I haven't been more successful, because I just, you know what, I like doing cartwheels across that fence, y'all. Just keep on keeping it on.
Well, I do want to say, like, you have made some great rock records. I want to acknowledge that. I mean, there's the moment when Carlene was working with people like Dave Edmonds and Nick Lowe and the Brinsley Schwartz, and we saw Elvis Costello last night. That was the moment. Well, Carlene should be up in that pantheon. She is up in that pantheon with those people. I truly do.
Wow. I think I was serving them drinks and snacks, basically. I was a little salsa girl, but yeah, I was hanging with the boys.
So tell us about coming back, or you said earlier, I was going to say coming back, but that's not correct. You always, even when you were exploring rock and power pop and rockabilly, you always came back to the Carter family sound. You always integrated that sound in. And tell me how you did that throughout your career.
Well, I would come to a point where I would know that I would do like a really rocking record with the Rumor. Then I would turn around and I would go to New York and work in the Power Station with Tony Bon Jovi. It's like, okay, completely different things. Then I did a record with Rockpile, who was at the time my husband Nick Lowe and my former husband Nick Lowe, and Dave Edmonds. And that was the record I went over there to make in the beginning. It was called Musical Shapes, and I just had a lot of energy. I thought that, I always wore mini skirts. Nashville did not want me to wear mini skirts, even though they let G.C. Riley do it once. Yeah, it was just a different time, and for me to go to England, it was a wonderful freedom, because I had no expectations of what I was supposed to be like. I could be however I wanted. I could rock the hell out of my country music, which is what I wanted to do. My ambition in life was to be the rockinest country girl in the My grandma's style of guitar picking. God, by the way, you play great. Oh, God. She taught me how to flat pick, because, my little fingers wouldn't quite do it. But so this is one where I incorporated a little bit of Maybelle picking, a little bit of Carlene rocking, and a story of my life. Mother Maybelle's watching me.
Southern girl, about 15, had a vivid
for the better, so sweet and kind, Southern girl. Little did she know that a trail of tears, as the light of the man she loved, and the night she cried. Trail of tears, gushing to her head, she followed her heart to the bitter end. Followed her heart to the bitter end. The bitter end. She found herself lost one night, rolled back home, nowhere inside. She tripped, she fell, scattered and strewn, crippled by fear and chilled to the bone. She turned and looked back at where she had been, oh, carried away on a cold northern wind. Southern girl, little did she know that a trail of tears, as the light of the man she loved, and the night she cried. Trail of tears, gushing to the wind, she followed her heart to the bitter end. Followed her heart to the bitter end. Followed her heart to the bitter end. The bitter end.
I was out in California making my first solo album. I found myself, me and Carlene were talking about this earlier, the good old days at Warner Brothers where they would spare no expense. If you wanted to have Dr. John on your album, why they called him up and got him, or Ry Cooder, or David Lindley, or whoever you wanted. So I found myself making this, what turned out to be a very eclectic album. And somebody once said, that said, you know, you invented Americana music decades before anyone gave it a name. I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, you had a Jimmy Rogers song on there, you had a Dolly Parton song, you had a Kate and Anna McGarrigle song. So, like you were saying, I didn't think of these as being in separate genres. They were just all cool music that I loved. So, and since I didn't write, I had the choice of all these great songwriters. So anyway, so there we were doing the album, and one day Dr. John came in, and he was not only just putting his wonderful signature piano style into the tracks, but also coming up with some good ideas. And he came shuffling into the studio one day, and he said, hey, Maria, I think I got a cool tune for you. And so he pulled out a little cassette and played this song by a wonderful New Orleans blues woman named Blue Lou Barker, and it was called Don't You Feel My Leg? So, a favorite to this day. So we thought it was a cute song, and we put it on the album, and the album came out, and of course this other goofy little song about a camel was the one that took on, and it was a huge mega hit, and you know, on the charts for months and so forth. And this is an interesting story. After months and months of Midnight at the Oasis being on the chart, DJs were calling up and saying, you know, we're getting actually more requests for this Don't You Feel My Leg songs. You ought to release it as a second single. And they came to me and told me that was an idea that was being talked about, and it sounded fine to me, but they said, but wait a minute, you want to think about something. If you put out that song, Don't You Feel My Leg, as your second single, you might forever be pigeonholed as a red-hot mama. And you have to think about whether, and I, you know, in the back of my mind, I'm going, yeah, so. But they said, but you want to think, if you want to be known as that or a serious artist. So stupid, naive me said, oh, I want to be known as a serious artiste. So we never put it out, but as the audience response shows, that song has remained a big favorite with people to this day, and I perform it at almost every gig I do. And a few years later, because the song was on the album, the people that wrote it were owed a lot of royalty money because the album sold quite well. And so when we went to pay Lulu Barker and her husband Danny Barker the money they were owed, we contacted the publishing company that we saw written down, and they said, oh, they're deceased, send the money to us. So we ran that by Dr. John, and he said, deceased? He said, the hell they are, I just seen them down on Boyden Street 2 weeks ago. So with his help, we contacted them and sent them the first of several wonderful royalty checks they were very happy to get, and over the years that was money they really appreciated because they were already in their 60s at this point. Well, anyway, as a result of all that, I got to know them, and they were both wonderful people, fixtures on the New Orleans music scene for decades. Danny Barker played rhythm guitar with the likes of Cab Calloway, Louis Armstrong, Billie Holiday, to name but a few. And so we remained friends till they both passed away in the late 90s. They were married over 66 years.
And how many, and if not for Maria Muldaur, I don't even know how many people would know Lulu Barker's name today. So.
Well, so the thing is that they still didn't, weren't that well known, but they were very beloved in the New Orleans music community because Danny Barker took it upon himself to mentor all the up-and-coming musicians in the traditional second line and brass band traditions that might have died out. And that's, things like the Rebirth Brass Band and so forth. So they have a little festival for them. Well, in New Orleans, the smallest excuse to have a festival. But they have a festival for Danny Barker every year. And 2 years ago, they asked me, would I come and do tribute to Lulu Barker? So I said, sure. And so now when I first heard about them, they never even got a compilation album out like Memphis Minnie and some other early blues people did. But now, thank God, because of the internet, I got together with my keyboard player and we surfed all over the internet and found that they had written dozens and dozens of songs equally naughty, bawdy, funny, and clever as Don't You Feel My Leg. Songs with titles like Loan Me Your Husband and Bow-Legged Daddy, to name but a few. So anyway, I went to New Orleans, put together this killer New Orleans band. We did the show, and everybody came running up to the CD table and said, well, where's the CD that has all those tunes we just found? And at that moment, we just heard rather, and at that moment we realized we should record this material and share it with everybody. And so I got to do that about a year ago, and it was, what do you know if it wasn't nominated for a Grammy? My 6th nomination. I didn't win, but I'm not giving up. Anyway, so this song, the thing is, you go, wherever I go, people enjoy this song because what I think, somebody asked me, well, what is a vintage gal like you? Why are you recording all these vintage tunes? What's the point? And I thought about it and I thought, well, these women that I admire so much, like that I've mentioned earlier, all our blues heroes, they liberated themselves without any help from any rah-rah college co-ed movement. They didn't burn their bras or do anything like that. They were coming up in a time that they were coming up against so many obstacles and barriers, and social barriers, racial barriers, gender barriers, economic barriers, but they didn't let it suppress them or oppress them or hold them down. They just decided to express who they were fully. if you feel my leg, you might wanna feel my thigh. Feel my thigh, you're gonna go too high. So don't you feel my leg? Don't you buy no ride, baby, don't you buy me no ride. 'Cause if you get me whiskey, you know I might put a lampshade on my head and get too frisky. You get me high, you're in for a big surprise. So don't you buy no ride. Said you take me dancing, buy me a little glass of wine. But I know you got something else on your mind. You said we'd have a ball and have a lovely time. But what I got in mind, oh my, don't you feel my leg? 'Cause if you feel my leg, you just might try to sneak up on my thigh. I know you feel my thigh, it's gonna get you high. So don't you feel my leg? Oh, feel it now, come on, boy. Said you take me dancing, buy me a glass of wine. But all you men are all alike, you just got one thing on your mind. You said we'd have a ball and have a perfectly respectable time. But what I got in mind, oh my, don't you feel my leg? 'Cause if you feel my leg, you ain't gonna be able to resist my plump little thigh. Feel my thigh, it's gonna get you high. So don't you feel my leg? Don't you feel my leg? Don't you feel talking about my plump, yet oh so firm, I mean a little old lady.